Are you the only mind in the universe? There's only one thing in the entire universe you can be absolutely certain of: your own mind. You hear your own thoughts, you feel your own feelings. But what about everyone else? Sure, you've seen them laugh, you've heard them cry, but you've never actually been inside their head. So how do you know they have one? This isn't just a late-night dorm room question. It's the key to one of the most unsettling ideas ever dreamed up: solipsism. The theory that everyone you know and love, your family, your friends, might just be an elaborate fiction created by your own mind. And the scariest part? There's no way to prove it's not true. Section 1. The Unveiling. The name for this head trip, solipsism, literally comes from the Latin for alone and self, solus and eps. It's the philosophical idea that your own mind is the only thing that's guaranteed to exist. Everything else, the world outside your window, the people you talk to, this very video, might not be an external reality at all, but a projection, an incredibly detailed and convincing fabrication of your own consciousness. This idea really took off in the 17th century with a philosopher named René Descartes. On a quest for absolute certainty, Descartes decided to throw out everything he couldn't be 100% sure of. He doubted his senses because they can be tricked. He doubted the physical world because he could just be dreaming. He even imagined a powerful, evil demon whose only job was to deceive him about everything. But in that sea of doubt, he found a single lifeline. The very act of doubting proved that he, as a thinking thing, had to exist. As he famously put it, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. And that's the crack where solipsism creeps in. You have direct, undeniable access to your own thoughts and feelings, but you can never have that same access to anyone else's mind. You just see what they do on the outside. You see a smile and assume they're happy. You hear a sob and assume they're sad. But these are just guesses. You've only ever witnessed the outward performance. The solipsist just takes this to its logical and terrifying conclusion. If your own mind is the only one you can be sure of, what proof do you have that any other minds exist at all? Section 2. The Gauntlet of Doubt, Exhibit A. The Dream Argument. So how does solipsism make its case? Let's walk through the gauntlet of doubt it throws at us. First up, the dream argument. Think about the last really vivid dream you had. In that dream, the world felt completely real. There were places to go, people to talk to. You felt real emotions, fear, joy, total confusion. And the people in your dream, they seemed to have minds of their own, doing and saying things you didn't see coming. While you were in it, that dream was your reality. Now consider this. Your mind, all by itself, created that entire world. It built the sets, populated them with characters, and wrote their dialogue, all while convincing you it was real. So if your brain can cook up such a complex reality when you're asleep, how can you be absolutely positive it isn't doing the exact same thing right now? The solipsist asks, what if waking life is just a very, very long and consistent dream? You have no way to step outside of your own experience to check. You're like a dreamer who doesn't know they're dreaming, and maybe you just haven't woken up yet. Section 3. The Gauntlet of Doubt, Exhibit B. The Philosophical Zombie. Next up is something even more unsettling. The thought experiment of the philosophical zombie. Now forget the groaning, flesh-eating monsters from the movies. A P-zombie is a hypothetical being that looks, acts, and talks exactly like a regular person. But on the inside, The lights are off. Imagine a pea-zombie version of your best friend. It looks and sounds just like them. It laughs at all your jokes. If you poked it with a pin, it would yell, "Ouch!" and its brain scan would show the same activity as someone feeling pain. But on the inside, there's nothing. No actual feeling of pain, no inner experience, no what it's like to be them. It's basically a perfect biological robot, programmed to mimic human behavior without a drop of consciousness. The chilling part is that, from the outside, a pea-zombie would be completely indistinguishable from a conscious person. You could spend your whole life with one and never, ever know. So the question becomes, how can you be sure that anyone you know, or everyone you know, isn't a philosophical zombie? You can't. You just assume they have an inner life like you do. But as the pea-zombie experiment shows, acting human isn't proof of being human. Section 4. The Gauntlet of Doubt, Exhibit C, the unprovable nature. And that brings us to the final nail in the coffin. You can't prove solipsism is false. It's logically unfalsifiable. You can't run an experiment to debunk it. Any piece of evidence you could possibly point to, a scientist explaining the mind-boggling complexity of the universe, a poet writing a beautiful sonnet, a loved one whispering, "I love you," can be brushed aside by the solipsist as just another convincing detail your mind invented for the story. You might think, but how could my one mind invent something like quantum physics or calculus if I don't even understand it? The solipsist's icy reply is that your own ignorance is part of the simulation. Your mind isn't just creating the world, it's creating your own limitations within it to make it all feel more real. This all sounds a lot like the modern simulation hypothesis, the idea that our reality is just a giant computer program. From inside the simulation, it would be impossible to prove it. Solipsism is just the ultimate version of this, where the computer isn't run by aliens, but by your very own mind. You're trapped inside your own subjective experience, and there's no logical escape hatch. If you've ever had that strange feeling of being disconnected from the world, like you're just watching a movie of your own life, you're tapping into a fundamental philosophical problem. If you're feeling a little shaky right now, you're not alone. Stick with me, because we need to talk about where we go from here. And while you're at it, hitting that subscribe button helps us explore more of these mind-bending concepts together. Section 5. The Existential Turning Point. Okay, let's just pause and admit it. This idea is terrifying. It's a feeling of profound, soul-crushing loneliness. The thought that every connection you've ever made, every laugh you've ever shared, every moment of love might just be a one-sided illusion is probably the most isolating thought a person can have. It can even trigger states of intense anxiety and detachment, a feeling sometimes called solipsism syndrome, where the world suddenly feels unreal. It seems to suck all the meaning out of life. But what if we're asking the wrong question? What if the goal isn't to try and disprove solipsism, which we've already seen is impossible? What if, instead, the real value of this terrifying idea is what it forces us to look at? After staring into the abyss of total isolation, what do we choose to see when we turn back to the world? Section 6. The Meaningful Choice. This is where we find the powerful counters to solipsism. They don't beat it with logic, but they offer us a better way to live. The philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein, for instance, argued that a truly private language is impossible. Language is, by its very nature, a social, shared creation. The very words you use to even think about your private feelings, love, pain, sadness, get their meaning from the outside world. The fact that you can frame the idea of solipsism using a language you didn't invent is a massive clue that other minds exist and helped build it. And think about the practical paradox here. If a true solipsist tries to convince you that solipsism is true, who are they talking to? A figment of their own imagination. The very act of arguing for their belief proves they assume there's another mind there to be convinced. But the most powerful response isn't a logical takedown. It's a choice. The fact that you can't prove other people are conscious doesn't have to be a curse. It can be what makes our connections to them so incredibly precious. Because you can never be 100% certain, choosing to trust someone, to love them, to believe in the reality of their inner world, that becomes a radical act of faith. Empathy isn't a deduction, it's a leap. Love isn't the conclusion of an argument. It's a choice to believe in the existence of another's soul, even though you can never, ever hold it in your hand. Conclusion. So this is the crossroads where solipsism leaves us. We can lock ourselves in the prison of the self, forever doubting the reality of everyone and everything around us. Or we can accept that fundamental uncertainty and make a conscious leap of faith. We can choose to believe that a friend's laughter is the sound of real joy. We can choose to believe that a loved one's tears come from a place of real pain. We can choose to believe that we are not alone in this universe. This choice isn't built on certainty. It's built on something much more human. Hope, trust, and our profound need for connection. The fact that we can't prove anyone else is real is precisely what makes the act of reaching out to them, of loving them, trusting them, and building a world with them, the most meaningful thing we can possibly do. It's an answer not found in logic, but in living. What do you think? Is the universe a solo act or a grand chorus? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to keep questioning the nature of reality, check out our video on the simulation hypothesis right here.